Good afternoon, everyone. I'll call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Allendale Public Schools commit to educate, inspire, and support all students. Amy, you have the roll call. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Statement of commitment. Members of the audience are welcome to make comments at the time designated on the agenda. Please register at the sign-up sheet at the door. Limit your comments to 3 minutes when your name is called. Out of respect for all individuals, please refrain from personal criticisms in open forum. And there's more detail. You can look that up on policy, board policy 167.3. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
Motion from Anna, support from Pam. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say the same. Agenda passes as presented. We have an organizational item here for signing purposes later. Do I have a motion to approve Kevin Holsteg as the acting secretary for the May 13th, 2024 meeting?
I make a motion to approve Kevin Holsteg as acting secretary for the May 13th, 2024 meeting. Support.
Motion by Anna, second from Liz. Garth, you want to?
Amy does roll call.
I know she does roll call. You want to explain maybe why we're doing that
Yeah.
for everyone?
So we have a couple of resolutions tonight, and they require the signature of the board secretary. And our board secretary is out of the state, and so we need to have someone designated as a signatory.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead, Amy.
Canada?
Yes.
DeYoung?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Halsteg?
Yes.
Mango?
Yes.
Ramey?
Yes.
Motion carries as presented. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Support.
Motion by Pam. Support from Anna. All in favor of the consent agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say the same. Consent agenda passes as presented. Next up, we have educational highlights. I don't see them here.
We have 2 honors prayer students that are on their way, so they will be here in just a moment.
Okay.
Anyway,
We okay shuffling the guys, these guys back a little bit in the agenda?
they should be here any second. They're on their way, so you might just.
Technically. Technically.
Or I could even take the certificates and give them.
We could do it.
No, they're here.
Oh, they are coming in now?
We can do that. I can make a
They're
motion.
running in. Thank you so much. I really
It's okay.
appreciate it.
Oh, man. How many accidents do you have running in?
They are.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for waiting. I do appreciate it. So these are our 2 all-state honors prayer students. This is a really grueling process. So beginning in the fall, in September, they submit an audition recording, and then they go through a regional, state, and then they were selected in the final all-state round. There's about maybe over 2,000 students that
On to public comments. First on the list, Ronnie Allen.
Hi, Ronnie Allen, Allendale. Good evening, and thanks everybody for being here. I know it's beautiful out, and I just appreciate your sacrifice and all you guys are doing, so. I'm not fully informed on the required ballot proposal language for school bonds. I am concerned, however, with what language might be passed tonight in light of the board's recent unanimous support of the recommendations from the steering committee. The ballot language, I feel, should convey to voters what the impact will be on them or the future residents that it's being leveraged upon, rather than being a sales pitch for the bond that the board approved to be proposed. In the interest of transparency, I'm appealing to you to consider carefully the language chosen in order to convey honestly to the voters the effect on future taxes. Saying taxes won't go up is misleading, in my opinion. Again, legal requirements likely constrain the language sufficiently, but please consider all the voters' understanding. And secondly, I want to again voice my opposition to the Prop 3 inspired support of the Neola policy changes. These policy changes would take away some of the accountability of the teachers or the educators to the employer should they intervene regarding abortion decisions, abortion counseling, among other things. While this indeed may be where cases may end up taking our culture, we don't really have precedent to justify proactively changing policies in ways that, on their face, oppose the state constitution, which states that it's the natural fundamental right of parents and legal guardians to determine and direct the care, teaching, and education of their children. So that was my thoughts. I'm asking you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. Next on the list, Krista Yetzke.
Hello. Some of these things I've said already, but not everyone was here, so I think they bear repeating. I'd like to speak about two of the agenda items. The first is about the Neola policies. I just say, please vote against removing that language that protects our children. Proposal 3 violates the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which protects the rights of parents to raise their children according to their values. Please don't remove that language. Secondly, I want to speak about the language for the bond proposal. I'm asking again that you include numbers and spell it out for the voters what the burden will be on them. It's not enough to say our taxes won't go up and that just the length of time we are paying those taxes will be extended. That is misleading. It's not fair to allow people to think this bond will have no financial effect on them. It needs to be spelled out in an actual example, such as the average homeowner is paying $2,000 per year currently for the millage on the property tax. By voting yes on this bond proposal, the average homeowner is agreeing to contribute $20,000 towards the loan for the school. And that might be higher depending on the economy. That is $20,000 we are asking each of our neighbors to pay. That is $20,000 our kids will grow into and be burdened to pay. If voters understand that a yes vote to this bond is an agreement that their family will pay $20,000 for this project, and a no vote means our taxes will go down once the current millage ends, now it is fair. Now each person can choose and vote whether or not to make that commitment. Anything else would be misleading. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Next on the list, Emily Miller.
Hello, everyone. I just have a few things to celebrate and highlight for the last board meeting of the school year. I heard 18 days today. I'm not counting, I just heard it. Young Fives wanted to highlight that due to our lower classroom size this year, our students are higher than they have been ever in all of their areas. We were able to meet their social, emotional, and academic needs, and it's been wonderful and so much growth. They also had a field trip to Hemlock Crossing for a field trip last week, learning about insects, and it was awesome. We had high schoolers come over to ECC to perform a puppet show in Spanish for all of our students, and they always love it. That's become an annual tradition. And our art department has a few things to highlight as well. We had a successful professional development day a few weeks ago where we presented integrating art into other classroom subject areas. Those who attended all seemed to really enjoy it and wanted to use it going forward. So thank you, Beth, for letting us present that and share that. Hopefully we can do it going forward. We are closing out the year and have many things to celebrate with art in general. Evergreen, Oakwood, middle, and high school have all had their art shows, so thank you who showed up, who came and supported them. The ECC art show is next Wednesday, the 22nd, and is open to anyone who'd like to see whatever little Falcons have created so far. And because I'm on the Festival of the Arts Board, I have to plug that here. We have 10 student artworks from Allendale Public Schools participating in the Festival of the Arts Youth Exhibition, 3 ECC, 2 Evergreen, and 5 at the high school level. It is on display at the DeVos Place Convention Center at the second floor Skywalk. We hung it up on Saturday, and the exhibition's open to the public until June 14th, every day from 8 to 6 for everyone to visit. And our Falcons Kids Choir and Drumtastics by Mr. Deswan will also be performing at Festival of the Arts on Calder Stage at 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 8th.
Thank you, Emily. That concludes the people signed up for public comment. Is there anyone else who would like to speak that didn't have a chance to sign in? Okay. Moving on to committee reports. You have anything for the CEB?
No, and I think we won't have a meeting until the beginning of next school year.
Okay. All right. Next up, the superintendent's report.
Thank you. I checked my notes, sorry. So a lot of important dates here, but maybe the most important date there is May 23rd, high school graduation. I see that Ms. Murphy passed out the invitations to the board, so mark your calendars. Typically, we try to get together about 6:30 on that night. I'm sure we'll probably get an email to that effect. So if you're able to be there, that would be fantastic. Next up is the bullying and discipline reports for the third quarter. As I went through, it didn't seem like there were any big anomalies in the report. You know, one thing to keep in mind is that this quarter that this represents is January, February, and March, which are the darkest, gloomiest months of the year, and we do typically see kids coming off that vacation high and the fun of being out for 2 weeks, and then behaviors sometimes take a bit of a swan dive. It's kind of a middle of the year swoon. So when we see a little bit of the behaviors increase at the lower levels in particular, it's not that surprising. But other than that, I didn't really see anything that stuck out, but I was curious if anybody had any questions. All right. Next up is the continuity of learning plan. Now, this is something that we've had to speak to. So once we started receiving ESSER dollars back in 2021, one of the requirements was to have a continuity of learning plan that talked about our return to school and you know, our plan for keeping schools sanitized and all those things. This is actually the last report that I have to make because the next one is not due until next November, and the need for this ends in September. So this will be the last update. Basically, today is just a reminder of what we went into this school year with. Our plan coming into the school year was to offer full in-person learning, and that we do also have an online option for students who wish to seek that. We also went into the year committed to the plan of not requiring masking indoors or on any of our school buses, and we will continue that. We do not require any staff or students to be vaccinated, nor will we. We do and will continue to encourage students to appropriately and frequently wash their hands. That's something we've been doing for a long time. And we do have signs posted reminding students not only to wash their hands, but cover their mouth and nose when they cough or sneeze. We continue to clean our facilities and disinfect them every night. We do have cleaning supplies available if teachers want to sanitize their desks between classrooms. And then we also have room air cleaners, like the big white one here on the side. Those came to us via a grant, so those did not cost us any money, but every classroom has an air cleaner, and we have lots of filters, so we can keep changing those filters out, keep those clean. And then finally, we will continue to encourage students and staff to stay home if they are sick. That's just the case with any illness. If they suspect that they have COVID, we suggest they can get tested if they want to. It is not required. And any staff member who wishes to be tested because they think they might have COVID and would like to be tested, we do have test kits available, and our nurse can perform that for them if they would like, but not required. So those are the main elements of our continuity of learning plan. And again, by the end of the school year, really going into next year, it won't be required anymore. All right. And then, all right. Man, my notes here. MASB membership, so we've gotten to a really nice routine of if we're gonna vote on an item, we typically discuss it in a work session prior to. We don't have a work session in May because of Memorial Day falling on that Monday. So in June, we will be voting on our annual renewal of MASB, the Michigan Association of School Boards. I sent you some information on that. Just a reminder that we do sometimes consult with MASB on procedural issues. We sometimes go to them for questions about policy, and they also do provide a free legal service. That's all for members only. That is not, they do not provide those services for non-members. They do have trainings and webinars, and so like with the change in the evaluation law, even though all of you have been trained in doing the superintendent evaluation, by law you now have to have a refresher course. MASB does offer those, and you can still take those courses as a non-member. It's just like a 30% premium on the cost. So just wanted to put that out there in case anyone had any questions, but again, this will be on the agenda for June. The membership ends June 30th, so we have to decide in June. No questions? I have one other I'd like to talk about, and that is every year our foundation does a golf outing to raise funds, and they're kind of hurting this year. The participation is really low, and that foundation outing raises a lot of funds that go right back into our classrooms. They have, I don't know, Scott, would you say dozens of teachers who get awarded grants every year? It's like $200, $250, I can't remember what the rate is. I think they're $250 a teacher, isn't it? So, we have dozens of teachers who get about $250 a year to pour into their classroom, and those funds come from this golf outing. So if you know a golfer, or if you know anybody who likes to ride around in a golf cart and willing to participate, please encourage them to do so, because again, they're really down on foursomes this year, so they could really use some more groups. June 14th. June 14th, it's at Terra Verde, 9 a.m., yep, and they have a nice little, I think Danishes for breakfast, and so they have lunch afterwards, and some door prizes, raffle prizes or whatever, so, yeah, if you can make it, that would be great. I am planning to play, but I have Mr. Haraberta in my group this year, and so I can bring my B game and be okay, because he's bringing his A game. No pressure. But yeah, we'd love to see you come out or encourage others if you could. And that is all I have for superintendent comment.
All right, thank you, Garth.
Yep.
Next up, we have board comments. We'll go right to left today. Kim?
Yes, I would like to, I know Teacher Appreciation Week was last week, but I just wanted to say thank you to our teachers, our support staff, our administration, everyone involved in helping grow our kiddos and helping the community. I know you hear it, but you may not hear it enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you every day. We really appreciate it as a board and as a parent.
Well said. Liz?
I echo what Kim said as far as Teacher Appreciation Week, and that's all.
Kevin?
Yeah, the same, obviously, you know, we get the bullying, discipline reports, there are incidences that the teachers have to deal with, and I appreciate their patience and dealing with those, and our staff and our taking care of those things to give everybody a safe, atmosphere to learn.
Anna?
I'd like to say thank you to our teachers as well, and that is all.
Yeah, thank you for the teachers. They are on the front lines every day, and we have such appreciation for what they do on a daily basis and the difference they make in the lives of children. Also, I would like to just highlight the fact that we've had a wonderful year academically and also with athletics, obviously with choir, and any other number of things that have been highlighted throughout the course of the year. It's just been a great year for Allendale, and I thank all of you who assisted in making that happen.
Well said. Thank you, Pam. I have no further comments on top of that at this time. Next up, we have our action items. I have a motion to approve the spring 2024 Neola policy updates to board policy 2410, 2414, and 2418 as presented.
I make a motion to approve the spring 2024 Neola policy updates to board policy 2410, 2414, 2418 as presented.
Support.
Motion from Anna, support from Pam. Discussion?
Yeah, so we presented these policies at the work session in March. That was the first reading of these update policies. At that time, there was some suggestion on getting feedback and an interpretation from our legal counsel. And so I worked with Coleman. I sent him what I thought was what I had heard from the board as the direction they would like to go. And Coleman verified that we're able to do this. And so if you look at policy 2410, the previous policy as it stands reads in accordance with Michigan statute, and then it goes into the prohibition about a referral for abortion by any school official, member, or board. So the recommendation was to remove the words in accordance with Michigan statute, because the Michigan statute doesn't exist anymore. However, it is well within the rights of the board to maintain the remainder of this language, and so that is verified by our legal counsel that would be aligned with the statute. There would be no conflict with the law. Then if you go to policy 2414, again, there's language here that Neola had recommended removing, and that was the language that said, additionally, any school official, member of the board, or employee of the board who is not the parent or the legal guardian of the student involved is prohibited from referring a student for an abortion or assisting a student in obtaining abortion. And again, that while that came out of the statute, it does not reference the statute, and so if the board wishes to leave that language in there, which I am recommending, then Coleman does not see a conflict with the law. The next paragraph, basically they reworded it. It does talk a little bit about, for a class meeting, the definition of instruction in sex education. The district shall notify parents. This was all in there before, they just rewrote it. One of the things that I would highlight, the last sentence there, it talks about parents shall be given prior opportunity to review the curriculum and materials to be used. Materials was added, as well as the opportunity to observe the instruction, and shall be advised in advance of the parent's right to have their child excused from the class and instruction. It had said just class, we added instruction, because again, if you don't do that, then technically, we could excuse a student from class by sending them to the library, but then we could have still required them to complete the instruction. So we want to make sure that the parents have the right to opt their child out of both the class and instruction. So that change is in there, and Coleman again supported the fact that that does not conflict with any statute. And then in 2418, the first paragraph simply is a semantic change from his or her to the parent's guardian. In the next paragraph, it talks, they added material and instruction in a sex education curriculum shall be age appropriate, not medically inaccurate, and shall comply with the statutory requirements of MCL 380.1507B. Because this references a statute, it makes sense to leave that language in, and that Coleman agreed with leaving that in as well. Then down in the next to the last paragraph, we again see that language about additionally any school official, and because it does not reference the statute, it's the recommendation that we can leave that language in, and it will not conflict with the rescission of the legislation. So, again, this is considered the second reading because we had a first reading, we got some feedback, this is the second reading, and now we are ready to vote.
Thank you, Garth. Amy?
DeYoung?
Other discussion?
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
sorry. Any other discussion?
Couple questions. When it says member of the board may have some, I want to read this again. First of all, my question is, what does employee of the board mean specifically? Is that just you, or is that if we own a business and that would be our employees?
So,
Because I think that is a little vague.
in this language, it talks about any school official, member of the board, or employee of the board. So that would be, I believe, anyone we contract with. So should we hire Plume to do our HVAC? They are technically an employee of the board because they are contracting with the district, and they would be prohibited as well from having any of these conversations. Now, those contractors don't typically have access to our students, but again, that is, and again, this is school official, member of the board, or employee of the board. I guess that'd be me. So
Yeah.
that'd be in there.
My concern is that employee of the board, I think, can read a few different ways, and if one of us were to own some sort of business, it just seems like those individuals in this language could be viewed as an employee of the board as well. So I would hope that we could make some sort of clarification if this moves forward on district employee of the board, I guess.
I guess my response to that would be that this is the language that Neola had in the policy, and that they had vetted through their attorney when it was in there prior, and also that Coleman Law vetted this out. I would say that if you own a private business, an employee of your business isn't subject to any of our board policies.
Okay, but Neola wouldn't be legally representing us because we're changing this wording, right? So we will be paying Coleman or another legal firm to,
If someone challenges it.
if someone challenges it, we are not covered, and we will be, as a district, paying
Yeah.
for it. And then also, I think it talked about, potential punishment for staff and board. What does board punishment look like? Because I wasn't really sure how we punish our board members.
I believe, and Corey, you may have more training on this than I do, but I think a punishment for a board member could be censure, is usually the first. Censure means you could be removed from any committees you're on. I'm not sure of all the, but whatever is there. In the So in the language, it references policy 1439. I think that might be the policy that governs. Pull it up for you quick here. Modern technology. So 1439. My goodness, my computer is so sensitive. Oh, that's administrator discipline. So I don't think there's anything in that statute that really speaks to what you're talking about, so I don't know.
Do we have a policy on board discipline?
I have to look it up.
I think we do, but I think it was just from like elected official something. I don't know if it would be the board, but I think it would be censure and removal from committee. I think that's about all we can do.
I don't know if we can do that if we don't have a policy in there. Because really,
I am pretty sure it is in, I don't know if it's in the 1000s or if it's in the bylaws.
I didn't mean to spring this on you.
Oops.
We could also make a motion, if we wanted to delay this to our next meeting, if someone wants to bring up a motion to pause until we find out what board policy, and maybe that's another policy we need to add.
Right. So I'll make a motion to delay this vote till our next scheduled board voting meeting.
Okay.
Support.
So we have an amendment to postpone this action item until our June meeting. I don't have the date. That amendment was
Do you know what the date is?
presented by
Do you know what the date is?
Of what, our next meeting?
Kim.
June 10th.
June 10.
June 10, thank you. And second by Pam. Okay, so the amendment on the table, as said by Kim, I'll just repeat it, to push the agenda item for Neola policy changes 2410, 2414, 2418, for further clarification on board punishment policy, discipline policy. Good on that, Amy? Okay. Any further discussion on that amendment?
No, we're really not changing this language from what it was before, correct, Trevor?
No.
I mean, this was in there for,
But now we have no legal backing of it that is paid for. We will be on the hook if it's challenged, even by a member of the board, to pay for it as a district.
Yeah, and it's a hole that's been there all along.
Right.
So, there should have been policy before for that language that was there, but that was never there. So we need to get it corrected, I believe. Any further discussion? All right, I think we can do just ayes here. We don't need to do
No, I think we should do roll call.
You want to do roll call? Okay. We can do roll call.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Amy.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Holsteig,
yes.
Mango,
Yes.
Ramey. No. Canada,
Yes.
All right, amendment carries as presented.
For clarification before we go on, so are you seeking something from me?
We will need policy written for,
I think we need to look into see for
Yeah,
sure
see
if we have
if it's there.
disciplinary policy from the board. And if not, what does that mean?
Mhm.
What does board discipline mean?
Right. So I think together, Garth, we'll get through that.
Okay, and so, sorry about this, so on June 10th, will we be taking up these three policies again? Or in June 10th, will we be taking up the issue of a policy for board discipline and then, just trying to figure out if I need to put the policies back on the June 10th meeting.
Right, so I think what we'll have to do then is we'll have to have a reading of some sort for that policy, and that may be in the next meeting. So, but it'll be in front of all the board members before the meeting, so they can read it and understand it. If they have questions, they can call or ask, and then we can have a public reading of that policy at that time. So yes, all three of them will be postponed until that time.
So we'll have to have a
So-
special meeting.
Nope,
Just do it in June, first reading in June, vote in July.
On
could
the
do that.
disciplinary.
mhm,
Well, the only thing I would remind is that that statute no longer exists, but our policy still references it. So our policy is currently in conflict with the statute. Now, as long as we don't apply it, then
mhm,
we're not violating anything.
right.
So,
So it doesn't say Michigan State statute would be the only thing that would be changing. So it's what was there before.
yeah,
Does Neola give us like a timeline of when we have to adopt these policies by? Or, I mean, are we still, I believe not every school district has talked about and adopted this policy from Neola, and they're still covered. guess we-
so, yeah, I think the deadline was June, not deadline, but that's the target, is you want to have it, because they issued this in February. So the expectation is that you cover it by May or June.
June.
But again, this is just informing the board. I don't think we're in any danger. I don't think this is, but just so everyone understands that we're not in compliance with the statute as it stands right now. I hope this doesn't ever come into play where we have to bring it out, but I would say the sooner we could get to it, the better. So hopefully by July, we can have that clarified.
Because what you're saying is we need to delay this until at least July because we have to have two discussions on the disciplinary potential policy.
So
It's a public reading.
if you don't want to pass these until we're sure what the policy related to board discipline might be, you have to have a first reading of the discipline and a second reading of the discipline, so July is the earliest that could be done. If you're comfortable having a first reading of the board discipline policy in June, you could vote on these policies in June. That's up to you, that's the board's decision. These policies can be acted on whenever you're ready to act on them, because we've done the first and second reading. It's just a matter of when you're comfortable with.
Could we do a special meeting just before the June 10 meeting, say at 5:30, for first reading on board discipline, and then second reading on board discipline at 6 o'clock?
Well, we are gonna have a special meeting on June 10th. It's the Truth and Taxation, our budget meeting, so we already have one. I don't know if the Truth and Taxation laws allows us to have any other topic. I think it can only be, but I could look that up,
Okay.
because we're already gonna meet it, supposedly, if we vote for it, early.
Well,
on the 10th.
if it does say they have to be separated, we can start the
Close one.
meeting, close the meeting, start the next meeting, and close that one.
Okay.
Those are totally separate meetings, totally separate agendas. So let's do that. Let's have it on the same day as June 10th.
All righty.
And there might be policy in there.
I think there is. I think I've read it before, but, yeah, I'm not exactly sure where it is.
I don't think that there's policy in there, because I think it follows what an elected official would follow. So it would be mostly up to the people, but from what I'm finding, it looks like somebody can file a formal complaint, and then it would be up to you and to you to have an internal investigation if they feel like somebody violated rules of the office, and then potential removal from committees at that point. So I believe it follows law and not specific policies, because there's tons of schools that have Neola, and so it's not really coming up anywhere. So I think it follows just what you would do for any elected official.
It's like a county board.
I think
or
it
anything.
makes sense to look into it versus a quick Google, so.
Yep, I can do that. Thank you. I just want to make sure I knew which direction to go.
Okay. All right, next item. Do I have a motion to approve the purchase of Zero Eyes firearm detection software at a total of $371,250?
Motion to approve the purchase of Zero Eyes firearm detection software at a total cost of $371,250 as presented.
Support.
Motion from Pam, second by Kevin.
Yeah, so this was a grant opportunity that we applied for and received. Basically, it will pay for this firearm detection software. I did call around to try to see if I could speak to people who are using it. There's a couple things. There was only several districts in the state who are using it already. Part of that is because most of them didn't have the money to purchase it before. Now, a lot of them are like us. We've been awarded the grant money, but we haven't implemented yet. So I did find three. One is Pontiac Public Schools, and Pontiac Public Schools actually is one of the first ones to put this in almost 2 years ago, and had a very lengthy discussion with their technology director, and he's gave a lot of good information. Actually even is willing to sit down with Paul and I and kind of go through what the screens look like and help acclimate us, which was really nice. Basically, I asked him questions like, have you had any false positives where you thought you had a weapon and that didn't turn out to be the case? And they've not. In the 2 years, they've not. Now, they have what they call a non-lethal alert and a lethal alert. And so in the non-lethal alert, they contact the administration directly, and that's for if they're, the software picks up what could be a weapon, they identify it as an airsoft gun, a water gun, any type of toy. Kid brings a Space Ranger gun to preschool or whatever. He said they've had about 8 to 10 non-lethal calls where some kid brought something they shouldn't have, but it wasn't necessarily the threat. But they have not in 2 years had any lethal responses, and so that's good. They do have SROs, the school resource officer. I asked about would the software constantly be detecting that, and he said no. As long as they keep their weapons holstered, the software does not identify it. If for some reason they had to take the weapon out of their holster, they would alert, but that if your resource officer's taking their weapon out, something's going down, and so you want to know that anyways. I sent you that article from this weekend that came out, and then I saw that it's in other places after that. I think it's really interesting. It's actually kind of exciting. As you can see, this is something that's spreading across the country. There are a lot of schools that are starting to adopt this. And to me, even though there aren't a lot of schools that are using it yet, I think that's exciting because this means that Allendale has an opportunity to get out in front. Like, we get to be the school district that says, hey, we're doing everything we can to keep our students and staff safe. We put in for this grant, we got the dollars, and we're going to be one of the first districts, and I think you're going to see a lot of districts starting to adopt this type of software in the next coming years. So I don't know if you had any other questions beyond that, but I just thought that article was just so timely. I just happened to pick up on that Sunday morning. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Who does it alert?
So if it is a lethal alert, it goes both to the local law enforcement and to the school. They'll alert both. If it's non-lethal alert, it just goes to your administration.
Is it server based? Is it going back to a central location that they're looking at?
So what they do is, it picks up our stream. So our cameras, have video feeds, and they read our video feed. That's all they do. They don't get any, they're not in a server that gets into our data. They have nothing to do with our student database, nothing with our records database. It's simply our cameras and the video stream. And then, it's not like one camera, one stream. So like a lot of our cameras, particularly like on hallway corners or outdoors, might have 3 or 4 camera heads inside one camera, and each one of those is a separate stream, and so it reads those streams individually. But it's separate from our system. Paul said it, our technology director, Paul Mulder, has said that, you know, it won't interface with our systems. It just reads the video streams. And to keep in mind, this company has been fully vetted, right, for security. They've been bonded. They've assured the folks who write the legislation, they've been able to demonstrate that there is no third-party interaction with this, with their streams. There's a lot of layers of security to this.
That was a little bit of my one thought is that, you know, our teachers, our students' privacy. I mean, are we opening up a door to
Yep.
to our buildings through this, that somebody can get in through a back door that can, yeah, like I said, in the invasion of our
Sure.
our students' privacy.
It's a good question.
It's my biggest concern.
It's a good question and a good concern. We do not want anyone to have that, because even if Zero Eyes didn't use that information, anytime that information kind of gets leached out somewhere, it's more vulnerable to somebody else taking it. And so that's why we're sure they can't do that. There are other companies and there are other software, but as you read in the article, Zero Eyes are the only ones so far who've gotten the stamp of approval that they have the security pieces in place to protect against that.
Paul did mention too, Paul Mulder, that he can revoke their permissions. So if there were any red flags that came up, he can quickly take their permissions away.
That was gonna be my next question. Like, do we have a button we can work on? We're not committed to this for 5 years.
Garth, what you mentioned the other day was if we, you know, try it for a few months and it was something that we were like, this is not working, you mentioned that we could just pull it, you know?
Yeah, we could. I mean, we may end up having to pay for it at that point, you know, if we're not gonna fulfill the life of the grant. State might say, hey, if you're not doing this, then we want our money back.
Right.
So we could end up paying for it, but again, if we're not comfortable with it, it's a small price to pay. I just feel like, and you could read it in that article, this is happening everywhere. It's in 30 other states, this type of software. You know, other states are coming on board right now. And I think if we don't do this and we don't use the grant money, 3 or 4 years from now, we may regret not getting on board, and then we would have to pay for it ourselves. And that's a lot of money.
I would like to reiterate the cost. We talked about a total cost of $371. The burden to the district is $7,500 per year. The rest is a grant.
Yeah, for 4 of those years. The first year, we wouldn't have to pay anything, and that's $7,500 after that. Again, Pontiac's really happy with it. I know Oxford schools just put it in, obviously. They have a big need for that. And then I can't remember if it was Troy or Novi also put that in. But again, there are other schools who've received the grant, like we did, and just haven't gotten around to putting it in yet. So I think you're gonna start seeing a lot more schools in the state of Michigan using this software.
Any further discussion? I think we're ready, Amy.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Holsteig,
Yes.
Mango,
Yes.
Ramey. Yes. Kanata,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Motion carries as presented. Do I have a motion to approve the ballot language for resolution for bond proposal as presented?
Motion to approve ballot language resolution for bond proposal as presented.
Support.
Motion by Pam, support from Kevin. Go ahead, Dr. Cooper.
Yeah, so again, this is the last step in the process. We took the pre-qualifying application to the state at the end of March. Had to make a few tweaks, mostly just semantic language pieces, and got that fixed. Got final approval. We approved that pre-qualifying application in April. Sent this to the attorneys. The attorneys took the pre-qualifying application, turned it into ballot language, because there's a lot there and you can't put it all on the ballot. So in your packet, you have the language that talks about, we are seeking to borrow the sum not to exceed $88,270,000. It talks about the different things that are going to be done with that money and the tax levy for that starting after the 10-year expiration. So this is the last step in the process for getting this on the ballot in August.
Can you clarify that if we approve this on the ballot, the only thing it would say is Exhibit B right here where it says Allendale Public Schools General Obligation Unlimited Tax Bond Proposal for building and site purposes in the amount not to exceed $88,270,000? Is that what voters will see?
No.
Okay.
I believe what the voters will see is Exhibit A.
Exhibit A.
Yeah, where it talks about the bond to be sold in one or more series for the purpose of erecting additions to, including security improvements, remodeling, furnishing, refurnishing, equipping, re-equipping, erecting, furnishing, and equipping a field house, school support buildings, acquiring, installing instructional technology equipment, purchasing school buses, and equipping, developing, and improving playgrounds, play fields, athletic fields, facilities, sidewalks, driveways, parking areas, and sites. I believe that's the language that will be on the ballot.
So is it reasonable to add the requested language that we heard tonight as far as cost to household in here?
If that would have to go back to the attorney, and quite honestly, if we don't approve this tonight, we don't meet the calendar timeline to get this on the August ballot. Now, I would think what we would want to do for our community, and I've heard this and we're working on this, is as we campaign for this, then we're gonna put some transparency sheets out there as we've requested to say the average Allendale household between 2024 and 2034 will pay this much. That's with or without the bond. And then if the bond is approved from 2035 through, I think it's 2044, the average household will pay this much. So I think that that's the way that we would address that concern.
Would that be a piece that would go on social media?
Yeah, social media, on our website. Yeah. And we'll have community forums. People can come and ask questions, and I'll share that information with them at the community forums.
What about also like newspaper? Because I know I read that somewhere in here. Isn't there somewhere where?
We're looking to put some in the Allendale Announcer.
Okay.
We don't really have a paper of record.
Where it would
there may
also
be
show
something
that
in-
transparency?
There may be something in the Holland Sentinel would be my guess. They're the closest paper of record to us.
Any further discussion? Go ahead, Amy.
Holsteig,
Yes.
Mango,
Yes.
Ramey? No. Canada,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Motion passes as presented. Next on the agenda, I have a motion to approve the OAISD 2024 budget for Ottawa Area Intermediate.
Motion to approve the OAISD 2024-2025 budget for Ottawa Area Intermediate School District General Fund Budget Resolution as presented.
Support.
Motion by Pam, second by Kevin. And we're open for discussion.
By law, every LEA in the ISD has to approve the ISD's budget annually. You receive that information from them. At this point, I don't have any concerns with their budget. And so I would recommend we approve their budget for next year.
Any further discussion? Go ahead, Amy.
Mango,
Yes.
Ramey,
Yes.
Canada,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Holsteig.
Yes.
Motion carries as presented. Next, we have Truth and Taxation. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution scheduling 2024 Truth and Taxation budget hearing at 5:15, June 10, 2024?
I make a motion to approve the resolution scheduling the 2024 Truth and Taxation budget hearing at 5:15 PM on June 10, 2024, as presented.
Support?
Motion by Kevin, second from Anna. And open for discussion.
Yeah, we have to do this every year. And so Scott will be presenting our year-end budget and also the projected budget for next school year. Again, remember, it's just a projection because we have no idea what the actual funding numbers will be, but we'll use the best estimates based on what the senator and legislators and governor have proposed so far.
Any further discussion? Take it away, Amy.
Ramey,
Yes.
Canada,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Holsteig,
Yes.
Mango,
Yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn at 7 PM?
I make a motion to adjourn at 7 PM.
Support.
Motion by Kevin, support from Pam. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say the same. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming, everyone.